Hello, my name is Andy Tidy and welcome back to another edition of Canal Hunter. This is the second episode in the series which I'm entitling the BCN Incline Plains. This is a story of an old canal route that never quite happened, and you really do need to see episode 1 to get the context right. The BCN found itself overwhelmed with trade moving from the coalfield of Cannock through to the industries of the Black Country. And because they found such congestion at the Walsall Locks and the Riders Green Locks areas, they came up with a plan to build an inclined plane around to bypass both of those sets of locks. Well, as it turned out, those inclines were never actually built. But had they been built, they would have connected into a whole raft of what are now lost canals. And it's that route that I want to show you. In truth, it just provides a very interesting route to let you see photo streams and archive images of how this northern area of the BCN used to look. In our last episode, I took the route down from the Birch Hills power station down onto the Anson Branch and then up to the junction with the Bentley, and we took a long photo stream running up the Bentley Canal. Well, this week we're going to continue the journey on towards Ocker Hill. I've gone on record for saying that the Walsall Canal is my least favourite navigable canal in the country, and it's true. I find the canal very weedy, very shallow, full of rubbish, full of plants, and there's always this element of danger of antisocial behaviour from the banks. But don't let me put you off. I would fight tooth and nail to keep this old canal, not so much for its cruising beauty, but more for its historical industrial revolution heritage. The canal today runs through what you could describe as something of a hinterland. You've got the Black Country Spine Road running on one side, and you've got light industry running on the other. But back in the day, it was all so very, very different. Now, to put this into a bit of context, the Walsall Canal is the bottom of the 3 levels of the Birmingham Canal navigations. It sits at the floor of the valley of the River Tame. Above it there is the Birmingham level to the south, and there is the Wolverhampton level to the north. And between them, the Birmingham and the Wolverhampton levels pretty much circle the uplands or the periphery of a rim of land which encircles the headwaters or the catchment basin for the River Tame. And so the Walsall Canal acted as something of a sump pound. It had 5 distinct sets of locks flowing down into it. At the very north there is the Walsall Town Locks flight. This was the flight of locks built to connect the original Birmingham Canal through to the Worley and Essington on the amalgamation with the 2 organisations. Next around there is the Bentley Canal, which we looked at in the last episode. Then a few miles down the canal there is the Braidley Locks branch, which we're going to look at in this episode. Then the Toll End Communication Canal, and then finally the Riders Green Locks that still exist. And there was only one outlet, which was the Tame Valley Canal. But in truth, that's only the half of it. There were also a host of old branches which used to radiate out from the Walsall Canal, lost dead-end branches such as the Willenhall branch, the Bilston branch, Gospel Oak branch, Danks branch and the Haynes branch. And of course there were dozens of old basins. In fact, I looked on the old maps to try to work out exactly how many basins there were in this 5-mile length, and I counted 50 without even breaking into a sweat. So the Walsall Canal that you see today is totally and utterly different to the Walsall Canal that used to exist. The Walsall Canal used to run through an area of massive heavy industry, and today that is completely and utterly absent. In some ways it's almost a ghost. The fragile remains of the canal channel is still there, but all of the surroundings and all of the atmosphere that went with it has long gone, and I do fear that the best days for the Walsall Canal are way in the past. I'm aware that in my earlier searches for the lost and the abandoned 60 miles of the Birmingham Canal navigations, it could all be a bit of a jumble and a bit confusing. But as so many of these lost branches find their way down to the Walsall Canal, the Sump Pound, this is a great opportunity to encounter them in a logical sequence running north through to the south. And by virtue of my miraculous time machine technology, I'm able to stop my virtual boat, and when we can take a run up these old canals using the collections of photos that we've assembled as a sequenced set of images which I've turned into Photostreams. And that's what we're going to do in the coming episodes. Now, you may have noticed that the introductory episode to Series 5 was a little bit longer than usual, and I didn't really show you what the Anson Branch used to look like before it was abandoned. Well, you see, given the amount of archive material available for the Bentley branch, I didn't want to shortchange that section. So what I'm going to do is to run backwards to the top end of the Anson Branch, and we'll start off at the Bradford Arm, at the point where the inclined planes would have dropped into the canal near the site of today's Sainsbury's supermarket, and before it the Reedswood or the Birchall's power station. And like so many of these canals that we're going to be looking at, if you want the history in greater detail, I'll put the details of which Canal Hunter video you should look at into the description below. So let's pop back to Reedswood and fly our way back to the junction with the Walsall Canal. Well, these days the Walsall Canal is lined by the Black Country Spine Road on one side and light industry on the other. It bears no relation to the heavy industry that was nose to tail down this incredibly busy bit of inland waterway. So these days, with the Walsall Canal being so quiet, it's hard to imagine it ever being busy enough to need a bypass. But every one of those chimneys that lined the canal had to be fed with coal. So this section of the video really aims to try to bring to life some of this quite amazingly busy Walsall Canal. But as I said, to appreciate this, the canal is an acquired taste, and its beauty and its glory is very much in the past rather than in the present. So here's just a handful of forgotten names that used to operate on the side of the Walsall Canal, just to give you a feel for the types of industry that existed. There was the Bradford Tube Works, the Walsall Gas Works, the James Bridge Brickyard, Hunt's Chemical Works, numerous railway interchanges, public wharfs, and of course there were more collieries and ironworks than you could possibly shake a stick at. Now somehow this old canal has staggered into old age, and it's morphed from ultra spicy to, at best, plain vanilla. It is a bit of a shame, really. Now, because I'm filming these videos during the time of the third coronavirus lockdown, I can't actually get out on the canal towpaths with my bike and shoot film there. So to make up for that gap, we're using flybys produced from Google Earth. But it gives you an idea of the area and what sits beside the canals these days. I would say that the Walsall Canal, for all its deficiencies from a navigation point of view, has a very excellent cycle route running alongside it. Now, as we head south down the Walsall Canal, the Willen Hall and the Bilston branches, which used to go off to the west, they just seem to have melted away into the ruins of this post-industrial landscape, and they didn't seem to really trouble any photographer's lenses. But the Braidley Locks branch, just a little bit further south, has fared an awful lot better. In fact, we are spoilt with choice when we come to assemble a Photostream collage. I guess that's largely down to the fact that this is an old flight of locks, and with the gradient running up the hill, it provides a lot more visual interest to the photographer. So let's tie up our boat at Moorcroft Junction and let the Photostream take us up the hill, showing you how this old locks branch used to be when it connected through to the original James Brindley line of the canal linking Tipton through to Wolverhampton. I hope you enjoyed that photo stream. Of all of the lost canals that I've produced photo streams for and done videos about, the Braidley seems to attract most interest. And I guess because it slipped away from existence relatively recently, there are still a lot of people around who grew up as children on the banks of this abandoned canal and can tell stories about what it used to look like. Now, the Braidley Locks branch is a popular walk with boaters and local historians, and I've often led walks up through to the Lockgate factory at Braidley. But inevitably we return via a more southerly route and take in the Gospel Oak branch. The Gospel Oak branch was flat and relatively short, maybe less than a mile long. As such, there isn't a wealth of photographic evidence of this old short canal. There were plans to connect it through up to the Braidley area, but in the end the Braidley Locks branch served that purpose instead. There was a short-lived extension at the end through two more locks onto the Dumaresque branch, but again all of that has been wiped away. These days what you're left with is a linear open park area, and it's punctuated by outdoor gym equipment. And to be honest, if you're going to lose a canal, this is a pretty good way to lose it. Well, I think we've run out of time to explore any more of these old routes. So we're going to wind up this Canal Hunter episode here and leave the boats moored up until our next exploration into the old and the arcane of the canal world. So, hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you soon. Cheerio.